I'm Andrew Levine, the CEO of Koinos Group, and today I'm here with Koinos blockchain architect Michael Vandeberg, who's going to tell us about the Koinos authority system. You completed work on this last sprint. You said that it gave Koinos the most flexible authority system of any blockchain in existence. Could you elaborate on that?
The secret to the authority system is a user can upload a smart contract to their address and specify, I am overriding this portion of the authority system. Currently, that is authorizing contracts. So, for example, when you want to transfer coin, that coin says, hey, I want to make sure this account has authorized this transfer. So it makes sense, right? You don't want someone transferring your coin unless you've signed the transaction, but you can override that. And so it'll say, oh, hey, this address actually has an override here. Let me ask that contract if they authorize this use. Which means in the most simple case, you can upload a contract that simply says, hey, I'm going to use this key instead. But in the more complicated case, you can implement, because smart contracts are a Turing complete programming language, you can implement whatever you want. So ultimately, this started with us trying to think, how did we want to generalize the hierarchical threshold multi-signature algorithm that Steam has, which also is the basis for the EOS authority scheme. How do we want to generalize it? How do we want to make it better? And ultimately, we came to the conclusion of, we could design the crap out of this, but someone could come up with something better. So why don't we build a system that lets someone come up with something better? And rather, not only allows it, but encourages someone to come up with something better. And the advantage of this system is, so I mentioned, you can override specifically authorizing contracts, authorization of contract calls. You can also override the authorization of using mana, which means a dApp developer can override mana use and implement a way for them to pay for their own users for whatever criteria they want. I think a common use case will be making sure that user is only calling the dApp's smart contracts, and then you can rate limit users based on that. You could implement mana from your own token. So if you want users of your dApp to be able to use your mana, but you want them to be rate limited via sort of your own internal dApp mana, you could totally do that as well. Or you could just pay for them and rate limit based on some other criteria. It's I'm tossing out ideas to get juices flowing, but they're not restrictions, right? This is the starting point. This isn't the end goal. And then you can also override separately uploading of a new contract to the same address, which will allow contracts. So by default, the same key can just continually upload a new contract. And this will probably be one of the overrides that dApp developers will most regularly use. You could make that override always return no, which means nobody can ever upload a contract again to this address. So you can implement Ethereum upgrade mechanics if you'd rather. You can also upgrade your own governance model for how your contract can be updated. And so you can have a dApp that defines how it can be upgraded and rely on your community governance for determining when things should be uploaded or not. That's entirely up to you. So by creating this system and by defaulting to the contract itself on how it should be authorized, or how the account or associated with that contract should be authorized, we've just entirely opened the floodgates to, I think, the next generation of smart contract design, simply because as far as I'm aware, no other blockchain is doing this. Essentially, your design paradigms with contract upgradability from Ethereum don't apply here. They just, you can implement that if you want, but there are so many more possibilities that I think most people are going to want to start from scratch and get creative. And now that you've got a sandbox, what do you want to do with it?
When you mentioned internal mana and rate limiting, one of the things I've been thinking about a lot lately is how dApp developers will monetize their dApps without charging fees. And so I'm wondering if that fits in here, and if their internal mana can be connected to their own dApp token, so that they're looking at how much of their own token the user holds.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what I was suggesting. Is I've got my own dApp token, and if I want, I can implement a mana system on top of my dApp token. And now, yes, my contract needs coin, right? No, it needs the normal mana to operate, but I can use that sort of community fund of coin to pay for the dApp's users, but determine who can do what on the dApp based on their own, mana balance. And by mana, I mean the internal mana, right? So you can essentially now have multiple layers to all of this.
So it'd be their own mana implementation.
It would be, mana on their own token that then determines who can use their dApp.
So would this mean a separate automated market maker?
Oh, no, yeah, you could copy the code, but it would be its own separate smart contract.
You basically copy the mana system contracts and implement them as user contracts.
Mm-hmm.
This is composability, right? You model your application off of the system design. Right?
Well, yeah, and I think in my mind, this highlights the benefit of having the system being implemented as smart contracts. Is we have to make some building blocks, in order to build a system. And if those building blocks are the right building blocks for your dApp, why not copy them? It's all open source, so copy the source code, change it how you want, make it fit your use case. Maybe there's aspects of mana that you don't like for your dApp. Maybe you want a longer or a shorter regen period. Well, those are all parameters in the contract. Make your own flavor of mana.
I think that is really important and is going to blow people's socks off. And if it doesn't, it eventually will, because I feel like this is really going to amaze people when they realize they can.
And like I said, this is not a restriction of what you can do. This is an idea of what you might be able, like, you can do this, but it's not a limitation. It's the starting point. And like we've thought through different scenarios trying to make sure, can this system handle it? But I'm almost every day thinking of a new scenario. I'm like, wait, can we do this? Yeah, we can. So all the ideas that I'm coming up with, the system handles. It's in my opinion, it's unlike anything that has been written yet, and might take a little bit of getting used to, just because the way I see it is we are handing over way more freedom to dApp developers. And you could make an argument that that's a bad idea, because dApp developers are new to blockchain, and blockchain is difficult. We are giving them way more rope to hang themselves with. It's 100% true. But if we don't respect the dApp if we don't respect the developers enough to give them the same freedom in building their dApp as we have in building the blockchain, then I think we are purposefully limiting the viability of that blockchain.